Dice Tower Tonight, episode 64.
How the West was fun.
Welcome to Dice Tower Tonight, a video cast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On tonight's show, we recount our adventures at Dice Tower West, and Crystal and the chat will try out a new party game. Also, we talk about a game that we both got to play, and we answer questions from the audience live. I'm Eric Summerer, and joining me now, the Scooby to my Shaggy, Crystal Pisano.
Oh, wait, no. My Scooby impression probably needs work, but that's okay. Also, my voice is still a little bit raspy.
You still have a little texture post-con. It is hard to maintain a voice throughout that much explaining of games and the climate difference and you know the occasional waft of smoke as you go from the casino or walk through the casino to get places. So you actually sound pretty good. I didn't notice that you were too raspy or gravelly today.
I think it sounds worse to me than to other people, but this week it's funny because my coworkers have all been like, "Oh no, are you sick?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not at all. Like truly not sick, just a little bit raspy."
Well, good. If you haven't picked up from our discussion, you should know that Crystal and I were both at Dice Tower West this past week. Crystal liked it so much she decided to stay in Vegas.
Yep, totally. That's the only reason.
But I got back. I left late Sunday night, did an overnight flight, and immediately jumped into work this week. It was entertaining. It was sad to leave, though. It was such a great vibe. We're going to talk about this in a little bit as a quick recap. But how has your transition been back to the real world after being in fun game land for so long, Crystal?
It has been pretty good compared to some past cons. It's weird. This con, I was busier than a lot of other cons I attend, and yet I think I did a much better job of self-care during this con, so the after effects have not been as noticeable. I've definitely been tired this week, but not nearly as much as I usually am. There was no late night karaoke, much to my sadness, but also like my mental health and physical health. I was going to bed at a reasonable time and getting up at a reasonable time most days of the con, and I found that helped both during the con and after. I was back at work Monday morning, and while I was definitely especially tired that day, it wasn't unmanageable.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat disappointing because you mentioned the karaoke, which was one of the highlights of last year's Dice Tower West, but it did go late. I don't think we got out of there till like 2 a.m.
Yeah, it was 2.
And I hadn't done that in a long time, so I was good and went to sleep in a reasonable hour and still had energy, and even after the red eye was at least functional for this week of work. So I guess we made good decisions. Yay us.
Yay! Self-care is important, friends. And guess what? The board games will still be there whenever you wake up. So get some extra sleep. That extra hour or two can make all of the difference.
And sometimes getting up early means you get first choice at the stuff in the library.
That's true.
Was like the hot game at 10 or 11 p.m., but at 8 a.m., nobody's playing that game. So anyway, we'll talk about that in a little bit. One thing we did get to do, Crystal, is we got to play the same game. We probably played a few of the same games.
We did play a few of the same games, I think.
But this one we both, I think, mentioned as, if not the highlight, but one of the highlights of our new games, games that were new to us at Dice Tower West. And that is Nova Luna, which is being produced by Stronghold Games, at least here in North America. It's a Spielweiss title. The designers are Uwe Rosenberg, you've heard of him, and Corné van Moorsel, who is pretty much known as the head of Koali Games. I know him from Logistico and also a game called Habitats, which is where the mechanism in Nova Luna comes from, which is why he gets the credit here. Let's talk about Nova Luna as soon as I can open up this box here and not knock all of my stuff over. Okay. So Nova Luna is we tried looking for the theme of Nova Luna while we were playing and wondered how did they turn this into a theme? There is no theme. They don't even try. Often games that have a moon theme are like, you are druids and you're attempting to collect energy from the forest. No, they just say In Nova Luna, you try and score points the most efficiently you can. And anyway.
And if you look in the rule book, the moon piece that is listed with the components isn't called the moon, Eric. If you look in that rule book...
Is it not?
It is labeled as meeple. No, if you pull out that rule book, Eric, we got to show...
I don't believe you. Hang on a second. It's at the bottom.
Oh, no. Yeah, no.
Come on.
Someone tweeted about this, and I was just like...
That is not a meeple. Give me a second.
I mean, it is most certainly not a meeple, and yet somehow, when you look at that component list in the front of the rule book... Show the camera, Eric.
No, it says marker.
Oh, no, so it must be in the other editions of the game.
Maybe the Spielweiss, yeah. So we can say Stephen Bonacore corrected that.
Wait, we can't. Oh, I was so excited to get to make fun of Bonacore.
It says one marker, unless it's somewhere else.
Either that or someone very cleverly photoshopped it. That would be very interesting too. But I saw a picture on Twitter where it said meeple.
So you've got this marker, and it's going to travel around this moon-themed track where you've got a marker that starts here, and everybody sort of starts together in one big cluster. And the moon's going to start here in this position, and there will be tiles going all around the circle. And the tiles sort of look like this. They come in 4 different colors. There's red, there's a light blue, sort of an aqua, there's a dark blue, and there's yellow. Yeah, red, yellow, blue, and blue. I don't know why they chose 2 blues, but sure, whatever. Each tile has a certain number of objectives on it. So this one says if you have a teal, a yellow, a red, and a blue touching this tile, you're going to be putting these in front of you as you collect them, you will score that objective. And when you score an objective, you put one of your discs on that tile. You have a certain number of discs. It varies based on whether you're playing an intro game or whether you're playing the full game. It could be as many as 20. If you get rid of all of your discs, you win. That's the goal of the game. So every objective you complete, you put out a disc, and the faster you do that, the closer you are to winning. This one says that you want 3 teal next to this, but that could be here, here, and here, or it could be this is a teal, but it connects to 2 other teals. Because anytime you have an unbroken orthogonal group of the same color, you can score all of those just by touching one of them, which is pretty cool. And that's the mechanism from Habitats that Mr. Morsel did. There's also a number here, and I picked a different tile, a number in the corner that says how many time units it costs to take this tile. So the easier it is to complete the objectives, the more time units it's going to cost you to get it. So this one's maybe more difficult because it's only 3 time units. Other ones may cost 6 or 7, which is a lot. When you take one of these, so say the moon is here, I get to look at the next 3 tiles in sequence. If there's a gap, I skip that and then get to look at the next 3 tiles. I got 3 choices. I choose one of those tiles, I put it in front of me, and then I move my marker that all starts out all together around the board, that number. So if I took that 3 tile, I'd move 1, 2, 3, and now I'm there. The next player to go is the next one farthest back on the track. So it is possible, as with many of this style of game, to get multiple turns if you time it right.
Or to not have a turn for a very long time.
Exactly. If there's also a mechanism where you refill the board, if there's only 1 or 2 tiles on the board, you may refill. If there are no tiles, you have to refill, and then you get to take your turn. So timing that is sort of interesting too, because maybe there's a really good tile that's one of the last 2 left that you want to jump around to, but if your options aren't very good, refilling might give you something that is far more useful, and being the one in control of that decision is pretty cool as well. This continues until somebody gets rid of all their discs. If it is possible to continue until the deck runs out, basically all of the tiles have been drafted, and then it's whoever has the fewest discs left that wins the game. I played this 3 times over the course of the weekend, and adored every single time. This is one of those that has very simple, basic rules. It is easy to grasp as a concept, as a mechanism, set of mechanisms. It all makes sense. I guess the trickiest part that some people had was learning that the rule about the contiguous pieces. Like, a lot of people wanted to, if I get to score these 3 reds that are next to this tile I'm putting down, why not the blue that's over here connected to those reds? It's like, well, no, then all of your tiles are connected. You have to have a connection to the tile we're talking about, and then you can score all the connected tiles to that. But once people grasped that concept, it moved quickly, very fast game. And the depth, I liked the sort of continual gaining of goals. It reminded me a little of Reef, a game I really enjoy, where you have a tile that will hopefully solve or help you complete one of your goals, but it also provides you more goals. Sometimes those match up. Like, I can place this tile that advances this, plus I can instantly score that goal. That's great. But often it gives you more stuff to do. Oh, well, now I've got that, so I need to build off of here in this direction. And the planning for all of that, and then the agony when no yellow tiles show up in a draw, it's really good. It's solid, and it offers highs and lows and tension and all of that you want in this little 30-minute, 45-minute game. Nova Luna. What'd you think, Crystal?
I had very similar thoughts to you. I had also kind of compared it to Reef in my head, which I also really, really like. The phrase that I kind of overuse lately as my favorite types of games, they often tend to be easy to teach, but with interesting strategic decisions within them. And this fits that category for me to a T. It is a very easy teach, and it's not just one decision that you have to make. I think in Reef, you're making the same types of decisions where it's not just the thing that you take that is the interesting decision. It's also where you place the thing that you took. And this game does the same kind of thing. But whereas Reef is you're scoring points, this is a race to get rid of those little chips. So if I put that tile here, okay, I can put a token there and there. But if I put it over here and then I get another tile, I might be able to place 3 or 4 tokens. If you group things together wisely, you can kind of chain things toward the end. And it does ramp up in that way. It starts off a little bit slow, not in a bad way. But then as you get toward the end, someone will place a tile and they'll put 3 tokens out all at once. And you're like, whoa, they only have 1 token left.
Yeah.
So I played this 2 times, but I also taught it 2 times additionally. So Suzanne taught this to me for my first play. And I'm so grateful that she did because it is just delightful. It just scratches the right part of my brain. This is the type of abstract or themeless game that I really enjoy. And it is, I have to give Bonacor credit for picking this one up. I think it's going to be a big winner. And I definitely am going to be getting a copy of it. So
very nice.
Yeah. And it just released, I believe, in the States, like now, like this month it's coming out if it isn't already. I know Bonacor wanted to have copies of it at Dice Tower West and was unfortunately unable to get them there and was bummed about it. And truly, I think if he had had them there, I imagine they would have sold very well because you and I and Suzanne and some other people kind of kept bringing this out and teaching it to people, which I'm sure he's happy about, but also a little bummed that he couldn't convert those into sales immediately.
Yeah, I think he'll get over it, though, because I think word of mouth on this has already been good from the original European release, and I think there's a hit right here. People will find it soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it quite a bit.
So I think it's time to play another new game. Crystal, what do you think?
I think that sounds wonderful.
Okay. So this one is a new party game. Let me not lay that on my cord there. Okay. It's from Evan Davis and Nick Little. It's called Crossed Words. Have you heard of this one?
I haven't.
No, this is from another arm of the Bonacor Empire. Indie Boards and Cards is publishing this one. This one just arrived at the house. I hadn't heard about it at all, which is kind of cool to sort of get to play a brand new party game. So we're going to have to move the camera over to my table over here. So pardon me. We're going to get real close to my face. Hi. Hello. I need to move my tripod just a hair so that we can get to... Hi, Voltron. Get to... Here we go. I'll move this a little closer. And somehow... I really have a plan, I tell you.
Oh, I believe you.
Okay. And tighten it. This is riveting television, I tell you.
I'm so compelled.
Ah! I know, seriously. What the? Oh,
No,
you know
it's
what?
fine.
It fell. Okay. Sorry if I made anybody dizzy. Just happens that the... Okay. Now we're going to live with that and make it work somehow. So let's shift this over here. And I think I might even... Crystal, I'm afraid you're going to have to disappear for a little while.
That's okay.
So that there we go. We can see everything. All right. So this is crossed words. Let's even straighten it out just a hair. And we'll move it like this. Ha-ha! This is all, again, riveting. So, crossed words uses this grid. I've actually put tokens in here because I have cheated. But it starts out with all of these tokens off the board. And you will be given a set of tokens that sort of looks like this. And they have dry erase on the back where you can write answers. Then you set up the board with... You draw one of these starts with cards. So this starts with C. And then it has these little colored circles next to it, which tells you what decks to draw from to fill out the rest of the board. So you've got the starts with cards, and then you've got a miscellaneous deck, and you've got a things, ... and you have proper nouns.
Okay.
There. So I filled this out, and this is our sort of demonstration game. So we've got a starts with C, we have things you throw away, we have TV shows, we have at a mall. Those are a little tricky to see on the camera, but we'll figure it out. Modes of travel, and writers. So your object when you say ready, set, go in this game is to take your stack and you'll have a dry erase pen, and simultaneously with everybody else, you'll be writing down on your discs what goes in these intersections. So, C at a mall could be Claire's Boutique. And you write that in, and you drop your disc into that space. And everyone is doing this at the same time. You're even allowed to go in multiple... you can put multiple answers in each division on the board. Because you're trying to put in unique answers in addition to putting in good answers. You are allowed to use part of an answer to fill a clue. So let's say you had colors as one of the intersections, and you had, what was it? Beverages as the other intersection. You could say pink lemonade because pink is a color, and pink lemonade is something that you drink.
Okay.
But you couldn't say pink raspberry lemonade. No, you could. The idea being that you can't just take two words and put them together, one word that matches here, one word that matches here, and put them together.
They have to already natively be a thing.
One of them has to fully be in the category.
Okay.
So red delicious apple could match color and food. Or fruit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
So this continues until one player has gotten rid of all of their discs, and then you look at each stack and take out the duplicate answers. So if we have a word-for-word answer, we don't get credit for that. And then you total up points.
Okay.
This is how we'd play the game if we were all in the same room. But we're not, so we're going to do our little trademarked Dice Tower Tonight tweaks. Crystal, you have a pad of paper.
Yes.
In front of you.
Informed me that would be necessary, so I do have paper.
And so what I want you to do is make a grid
Okay.
that can hold a couple of your answers. You
Okay.
can write maybe one or two things in each cell of the grid. Crystal, you are going to begin when we say go and write down up to 9 answers.
Okay.
You, as the single player, can put down more than one answer in a cell if you want. but you only get to put down 9 total, as if you had 9 of your own discs. I'm giving you the doggos.
Yay, doggos.
The chat, however, will be playing the slow snails.
Ah.
So what chat is going to do is I will take when chat gives an answer, you have to give me a number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and give me an answer that fits the categories. Again, these are not the categories that we're playing with. Do not start yet. So you'd say, oh, for this one, things you throw away and modes of travel.
I had such a good one for that, too, in my head.
Yeah, things you throw away, modes of travel.
My answer would be hoverboards, because you take them to an airport by mistake and they make you throw them away. You can't fly with them.
So if you were in the chat and you wanted to say hoverboards, you'd say 5 hoverboards. And the first person for each cell, I'm going to write down on the chat's tokens. So as I see in the chat people answering stuff, I will write things out and put them in the cells. So we'll continue until either the chat has filled in all the cells or Crystal has given 9 answers. Then we'll do a quick, 10 count to see if there are any stragglers. And then we'll count and see what answers are in the cells. Now, the reason I said that I cheated is that because I can't write down what the chat says and play at the same time, I've put answers down already for all 9 cells. And we'll see if we get any duplicates and see who scores points.
Okay.
That all makes sense?
Yeah.
So now, don't start yet, because I have to show you what the actual categories are. So, moving down this side, the actual categories starts with R. Things that make you sweat. Contains X, Y, or Z. Vacation spots. Things in a pocket. And cartoon characters.
Oh no, okay.
Vacation spots, in a pocket, cartoon characters, starts with R, things that make you sweat, contains X, Y, or Z. I'm going to type in the chat, begin. Let me grab the right mouse here.
Okay.
And go ahead.
Okay.
So we're waiting for chat to name. Remember, chat, you got to give me a number, and then remember for chat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, looks like I've got something for chat. Let me grab the pen. I have something for 6 for the chat. Oh boy. These go by fast. Okay. I have something for 7. I have something for 9. I have something for 1.
1, 2, 3, 4. I only have 5 things written down so far, so I'm doing fine.
That's number 1. I have a number 3. Oh boy, I hear a lot of dinging.
You hear dinging?
Well, the click of the chat. That's not a ding.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh no.
5. This is the first 5 I've gotten. I've got a 3. I already have a 3. I have a 4.
I have 6 answers.
We're still looking for a 2 and an 8, although I'm scrolling down now. 4, 4, 4, 3, 3. I've got an 8.
Uh-oh.
from the chat.
Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no.
I like that answer.
Ooh. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And I've got a 2. I'm still writing it down, though.
Okay, well, that's skeptical at best, but I'm writing it.
So I'm going to give you a 10 count, then a 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
All right. Good job, chat.
That was. Oh, I can put more than one in a single box, right?
You are allowed to do that.
Oh,
Chat
okay,
was not allowed to do that.
Okay, well, I crossed off my skeptical answer in one box, and I only have 8 now, technically. So if the skeptical one passes muster, I may bring it up. But other than that...
So, Crystal, vacation spot that starts with R. What did you put?
I put Rio de Janeiro.
Rio de Janeiro is exactly what the chat put.
Oh, no.
I put Rhode Island, because I couldn't think of anything. And, Newport's nice. So, I get a point.
Technically, any spot could be a vacation spot, but yeah.
I got, so yes, I get 1 point for that one. You in the chat matched, so no points.
Okay.
Let's move on to In a Pocket, starting with R.
I have nothing. This is the only square that I have nothing for.
Okay. Chat said radio. Gotta make sure I don't get the glare here. So they're going to get a point because I said a rock. Like a very small rock in your pocket. I found this rock.
Hold on.
What?
In the rules of this game, is it things that could just exist in you could put anything in your pocket. Like, I could have said rutabaga, but that is not a thing that you
could fit
typically
in your pocket.
Find, like a rock or a radio.
My children put rocks in their pockets all the time.
Okay, maybe rock, but radio?
A small radio? Like a transistor radio?
Those are not generally pocket size.
I don't know how old the people in the chat are. Maybe they had the little thing that you could stick one end in your ear, and then the other end nowhere because it's bent.
Fine, whatever.
Cartoon character that starts with R. What do you got?
Unfortunately, I'm sure this is going to get duplicated, but it's the only one that entered my brain, and that's Roger Rabbit, because it's 2 R's. I'm a categories player, so that's the stuff that...
And in categories, you'd get 2 points, but no, you get 1 point. Roadrunner.
Nobody else said that?
Roadrunner is what chat said, so they get a point. And I said Rocky the Flying Squirrel.
Oh, nice.
So a point there. Okay, things that make you sweat and vacation spots.
I had to go with Las Vegas because it makes you sweat in multiple ways. You've got the gambling, you've got the heat. It's all over the place.
Hotel Gym was the answer from the chat. And I said Miami. So we all get points there.
Okay.
There's that one, and 1 point for Crystal. Things that make you sweat in a pocket.
I'm proud of this one. Yeah. I said hand warmers.
Ooh, I like that one. Contraband is what chat said.
No, that's also clever. I like that.
And then I said incriminating evidence. Now, Judge, are you going to call that the same thing?
That seems to be the same thing said different ways, but I'll let you decide.
I think those are, incriminating evidence could be a note, not necessarily contraband. I think they're different things. I'm going to give points.
Even though you had all the time in the world to come up with
You don't know. Maybe I went really fast. You don't know. I did it before while we were setting up the stream. So I was setting up the microphone and trying to do this at the same time. So
all right.
It wasn't forever. I wasn't thinking about this all day. Anyway, things that make you sweat, cartoon characters. What cartoon character makes you sweat?
This was one of the easiest ones for me to come up with, and that's definitely Jessica Rabbit. Because, she is a sexy bunny.
Well, there you go. You know what? I think I need to go back because they said Yellowstone for number 6, and that doesn't make any sense. So let's see if we had a number 6 that actually applies. I'm going to find probably the first number 6 that I see. Yellowstone was not. I think there was something else was Yellowstone. I'm not seeing another 6. So chat gets no points. Yeah, I don't see another 6. No points for chat on that one. but Crystal gets a point. Oh, yes, Crystal gets a point. I said the Human Torch.
Oh, yeah, that works from a more literal point of view. The first thing that came to my mind was Jessica Rabbit.
So, I like that answer. That's good.
Yeah.
A vacation spots that contain X, Y, or Z.
So this is the one where I had a skeptical answer and then right before time ran out wrote a better one. And the better one is zoo.
The zoo! I like
The
it.
zoo.
Zoo is great. I'm going to give you a point for that one. Come on. Let go. There we go. And chat said Zanzibar, which, great.
That was my skeptical answer that I got rid of, so I'm glad I did that.
And I said Cozumel.
Ooh, very nice.
Okay. In a pocket with X, Y, or Z.
I said Penny.
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 I like that. You get a point for Penny. Chat said Yo-Yo.
Okay, that's nice. I like that.
Good. And I said Keys.
Nice.
There we go. Last one, X, Y, or Z cartoon characters.
I went classic for this one. Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny is going to earn you a point. Jerry, as in Tom
okay.
And I went not Tiny Toons, but Animaniacs. Slappy Squirrel.
Nice.
For there. So it's probably not fair. I got a point for every one of those.
That is a little bit unfair, but whatever. It's fine.
But amongst chat, let's see. You tied. Chat and
that's
Crystal
anticlimactic.
tied. I know, really. So what would happen if you were playing the real game is whoever had the most would get, I think, like 3 points. You dole out 3 points, 2 points, 1 point as far as that. And I think if you tie, you get friendly scoring, I believe. And then first player to get, I think it's 7. Yeah, 7 points wins the game. And that's it.
All right.
That is a game of crossed words. Crystal, I'm going to bump over to you for a second while I maneuver my my webcam back into position. But
I can show off my little sheet.
Oh, there you go.
That I wrote on where you can see Zanzibar scribbled out hastily when I wrote. I was like, oh, zoo is more legit. Like, is Zanzibar really a vacation spot? I mean, anywhere, again, could be.
Anywhere's really a vacation spot.
It just felt like a city that starts with Z more in my mind. But that's why. So that's why. Zoo is a vacation.
Sure. It's entertaining. You can play up to 6. Yeah, I think there were enough materials for 6 people to play that one. I think it may be a little bit more than 3 players is the way to go there. But I had a good time. I can't wait to play it with people in the same room.
I actually, really enjoyed that. And it does seem to, like, if you, like, let's say you grew up playing Categories with your family. And I still like Categories, for the record. I'm not hating on Categories. I still play it. In fact, I own Categories, which that might be a fun one for us to play here on the stream at some point. I'll have to look into that because I own a copy of it. But yeah, this feels like it fits in the same family. So, like, if your family likes Categories, this could be another one that they might enjoy.
Very cool. The chat says trophies all around. Ties.
Aww.
Rejoice in your shared victory, everybody.
And Tom would be mad about it, but he's not here.
He's not
so
here.
We can do that.
Whatever.
I know, right?
Okay. So let's get to our recap of our previous. I can't believe it's been a week since the show started, since Dice Tower West began just a week ago. Crystal, what were your impressions of the event from the past week?
It's interesting because I think my perspective is somewhat unique because I'm both helping run the con from an organization standpoint of view. Like, I'm doing all the social media during the con itself. And then I'm also a personality for the Dice Tower. So I've got responsibilities there as well. And I honestly thought this year specifically that would become overwhelming for me, or at least I recognize that might be a possibility, which is why I was being so diligent about the self-care. Honestly, though, the whole con was just lovely in a way that I've enjoyed every Dice Tower event that I've ever been to, truly. Like, there hasn't been a bad one in the bunch. But this felt special in a way that some of the past ones weren't quite up to. And I don't know necessarily why that is. I think for me personally, I think some of it has to do with the fact that more fans of the Dice Tower are aware of who I am. And so in the past, I would still have a great time. But like this time, I had a lot of people come up to me and say that they watch this show, they really enjoy it, they listen to my podcast, things like that happened more frequently. And it wasn't even a matter, like, I'm not gloating. I don't need to be recognized to feel valued. But everyone was just so nice. Like, it was just a constant deluge of beautifully, wonderfully nice people all week long. People I was playing games with, the people that were coming to the live shows. I got asked to join the Girls Game Shelf panel that happened in addition to some of the Dice Tower events that we had. And so I was kind of all over the place, and it was just so much fun. And I played more games than I expected to, considering how busy I was.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in that area that we've kind of talked about a little bit in the past. It's an area of the con. It's a dedicated group of tables. There's a big sign that says "Play with us," and a big Dice Tower logo. Mm-hmm. And we always have members of the Dice Tower or our partners, kind of like, media networks, people like Girls Game Shelf, things like that, who are staffed in that area to play games with people. And I think the purpose of that is obviously to make us more available and approachable to the attendees. But truthfully, I find it beneficial because then I can tell people, hey, if you do happen to care about who I am or you want to play a game with me, this is where I'll be. This is when I'll be there. Come and play. And a lot of people did. I got to teach Strike a bunch of times, which yes. I always do. I got to teach some other silly games. I got to teach some more serious games. And I had people teaching me games there as well. It was just great all the way around. And I just really appreciated how kind all of the attendees were, truly.
Yeah. I mean, there was a great vibe. Yes, in that cluster of tables, we have sort of a weird view because I spent a lot of time there as well. And it was more likely that we would find players because it was right by the entrance and we could put up a players wanted sign and usually get people pretty quickly to play things. But I also, wandering around the hall at large, I got the impression that everybody was sort of feeling that vibe. They'd pull out a game they wanted to play and put up a players wanted sign, and within a good amount of time had players to play and made some new friends with some sort of brand new game to them. There were also the teachers wanted signs and able to find somebody to teach a game. It was pretty likely that someone would know the game that you were trying to figure out if you got something from the library that you hadn't played before. And I just got a very friendly vibe throughout the course of the convention. And a lot of people that I talked to, this was their first convention ever. And
that surprised me, the number of people. This wasn't just their first Dice Tower event. It was their first board game convention.
Yeah, and really feeling like they were welcomed and, able to just jump in and start having fun and making friends. And it was just a great vibe. I think the size of the room was just about perfect. It felt busy, but not like you couldn't find a table, even on the busiest times. It was a pretty big room, but there have been conventions I've been to where getting a table is virtually impossible at some of the peak times, and it really felt like you got that right, which I think is a very difficult thing to do sometimes. And for me, personally, I got to play a good number of games. I think we were talking before the show. Let me navigate to my Board Game Geek stats. I played, I think, 19 game sessions. And there are some conventions that I only get to play like 1 or 2 games a day. And this was much more of a churn. I got to play more sessions of things, got to play some more multiple plays of things, and find some new favorites, which was great.
And before the show, I think I told you I'd played 20 different games, but as we've been recording, I thought of 2 that I didn't put in my tracker. So I think 22 would have been the total count of different games that I played during the con, which is also a lot for me at a con where I'm more heavily scheduled, like this one. So, and a lot of those games were new to me. There were also a few shorter games that I was teaching frequently. But I got to try a lot of new stuff that I really enjoyed. Sometimes at cons, you'll try new things and it's kind of hit or miss. You'll like some, you won't like some.
Yeah.
For me, almost universally, almost everything that I played that was new or new to me, I really enjoyed. And maybe that contributes to my overall positive feeling is I just
Sure.
kind of lucked out or picked well, or maybe I'm just getting better at gauging what things I'm going to like. A good example of this would be Meeple Circus, which is not new, at all. It's just new to me. And for literally years, not exaggerating, I've wanted to play Meeple Circus.
Yeah.
And at BGG Con in 2018, I checked it out of the library and brought it up to a room where some friends were playing games. And set it down on the table and people were finishing up a thing, and then someone else had checked out Men at Work, which was brand new at that point. And so a whole bunch of people were like, oh yeah, let's try that one first. And then time got away from us and it got really late, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to check Meeple Circus back into the library. And I just had never gotten around to it. So Suzanne taught it to me. And now there's a giant version on Kickstarter, Eric, and I don't
know.
It's so expensive, but I really kind of want it. You acted when I told you I had never played Meeple Circus before. The look on your face was priceless because you were just shocked that I hadn't.
So, I mean, there are tons of games, and it is entirely possible for any individual to miss a particular release. That was not the reason for my reaction. It's simply that I knew you would like it so much.
And that was the problem. I knew I would like it too.
Yeah. It's just a surprise because it felt like something that you would be drawn to and want to check off your list before now. But stuff happens, and you can't play everything.
I'm very happy that it was funny because it was kind of late, and Suze and I were thinking about kind of calling it a night. We were rooming together, and we went over to the library, and we were kind of just scanning. And I was like, I've never played Meeple Circus before. And she was like, I can teach that. That's an easy teach. And I was like, okay. And then we kept looking for a couple minutes, and we couldn't really find anything else that appealed. And so I was like, so Meeple Circus? And then we brought it over to the table, and I was like, yeah, I've never played this. And Suze hadn't struck her yet. She was like, wait, you've never played it? And she was like, oh, we're definitely doing this. So I'm very happy that I finally got to play it.
Quick aside on that giant version. I think I'm staying away from the giant version. It is pricey. I already own the original and both of the expansions for it. And
so yeah, then it feels like...
Yeah, it's, rebuying a game, even though it's one I really enjoy, I don't need to have it be giant. The Meeples, I guess they said they're 3 inches tall.
Yeah, they're pretty big. The giant version is in the Dice Tower library, or at least a giant version. I don't know if it's the same giant version.
It might be.
Yeah. But now this is where I'm struggling, Eric, because I don't own it or its expansions, and I could just get them in giant form.
Yeah.
We'll see if I can budget to make that happen, because it is definitely a luxury purchase. There's no reasonable reason to get this game.
No. You made an interesting point, though, with Meeple Circus, in that a convention is a great place to seek out some of those older titles that you've been always meaning to play that you haven't actually gotten to the table. And we mentioned the teacher's wanted signs. It's very likely that you'll find someone who knows the game and is able to teach it to you without having to wade through the rule book. And one I was able to do, and in fact, Crystal, you played this with me, is Jumpdrive.
Yeah.
Which is the sort of distilled Race for the Galaxy from Tom Lehman. It's still a card game, much like Race for the Galaxy is, but it simplifies the role selection. You basically have 2 choices on your turn. You can either build a development card or you can colonize a planet. You can do both of those, but then you don't get... Usually there's a bonus when you choose one of the roles in Race for the Galaxy. In Jumpdrive, you get a discount on developments, and you get a kickback, a rebate on one of the cards that you spend on a planet. But if you do both of them, both a development and a planet, you don't get that reward for doing so. And then you just score points. You play one of these cards, play maybe 2 cards, you score points, you get income in the form of more cards, and that's about it. And so the whole thing ramps up really fast. It only lasts maybe 7 or 8 turns. We started out with only scoring, 1 point, 3 points, 5 points, 15 points, 30 points, and whoa, it just, that went fast. But I really enjoyed it. And it was nice to get to play that one that was on my list for a while that I hadn't gotten to play.
Race for the Galaxy was one of the first hobby games that I was taught when I got into the hobby back in 2007. And it has always kind of been one of my like classic favorites. Although what's interesting is I've never actually played with any of the expansions. I've only played base Race for the Galaxy because I don't play it that often. So I've never really felt like completely compelled to buy the expansions for it. But then I played Roll for the Galaxy, bought a copy of it, have never played it again. So that was early in my board game acquisition where, you're kind of just buying everything that you play and like. And I don't dislike Roll for the Galaxy, but I'm not as compelled to pull it off the shelf. It's going on the cull list soon.
Okay.
And then you and I actually played New Frontiers, the Race for the Galaxy board game.
Yes.
At PAX Unplugged?
Gen Con.
Yep, I'm like, at some point we did that.
Yes, we wandered into the Rio Grande demo room and played that one, yeah.
So yeah, you and I have played a couple of these games that are in this same line. And I think I said similar things when you and I played New Frontiers to when we played this. I like them. All of them. I don't dislike any of the games in this line.
Yeah.
I don't need to own all of them, though. They do. It's weird. They are mechanically different enough that I'm not mad that they exist.
Right.
But there are enough similarities that I also don't need to own all of them. I think if I was going to buy another one to go along with Race, I think New Frontiers might be the one I would go for, which is surprising now that I'm saying it out loud, but it felt more different, and it surprised me in a very good way. I was like, it's going to feel too long, and it had some neat stuff in it that I really was surprised by.
Yeah. Were there any titles that you were disappointed by? New games that you got to try and you can say, you know what, I don't need to play that again?
Is it weird if I say no?
No, that's great.
Everything that I played, I would play again. There were some games that are very new that were new to me, of course, because they're very new. There were some new to me games that aren't new that I really liked. And then I played a lot of games that I have played before and really enjoy as well in that list of 20 or so. I will say one of the things that delighted me the most doesn't exist yet.
Okay.
Because it was a prototype. And Emerson Matsuuchi is obviously a well-known game designer. And his games tend to be somewhat hit or miss. Roy Kennedy loves to point out. The first time I met Emerson, we went to dinner during Dice Tower Con like 2 or 3 years ago. Yep. And the first thing Roy says when we go to dinner is, "Hey, Crystal, how do you like Century Spice Road?" Because it had just come out at that point, and I did not like that game. So that's the thing he says to Emerson, like first thing. And so I was like, I really love Spectre Ops. But Emerson is working on a new game. He had literally said he designed it 2 weeks prior to the con. So brand new.
Okay.
And it is a social deduction game that has a word element in it. And I was fully enamored with it. He has a working title for it, but he didn't tell me not to share this information, but I'm going to be a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm
that
keep
all
things
can
close
change too.
Totally, and I don't want to get things could change, but I believe the core mechanisms that it's social deduction with also words would probably not change, and I hope that they don't. I literally was like, Emerson, who do I harass to get this published for you? And obviously he does not need my help at all in any regard, but I still would like to go knock down someone's door and make them publish it so I can buy it and play it all the time.
Yes, Emerson is a great guy. If you ever have a chance to meet him, he's very unassuming, very polite, very friendly, and just the nicest guy in the world. And you can tell he's very calculating sort of guy. You can tell he thinks through his mechanisms and very, very specific sort of guy. And I think that's one of the reasons why his stuff works so well. So yeah, I think he's probably got plenty of doors opening for him in selling his latest designs, which is great.
Absolutely. Someone in the chat asked how Jeff Engelstein's Pinball Roll and Write game is, which I also taught. Jeff had kindly given me a prototype version of that game at PAX Unplugged, and so I did teach it to some people at Dice Tower West. There is an official name. WizKids is publishing the game later this year. Skillshot. Oh gosh, I'm going to look it up real quick just to make sure. that I know the name properly so I can tell people what it is.
You had offered to teach that to me, and then I was busy, and I didn't get a chance to do it.
It is called Super Skill Pinball, and
Go.
WizKids is publishing it later this year. And I enjoy it quite a bit as someone who really likes pinball and has my whole life. And I also like roll and write games. It fits squarely in my wheelhouse and is a lot of fun.
Yeah. So as far as other stuff that went on at Dice Tower West, you mentioned the Girls Game Shelf panel. Do you know if that's available somewhere as a video or as an audio podcast?
I believe that there was video recorded of the panel, but I don't think it has been released yet.
Okay.
I would assume that it will be released on the Girls Game Shelf YouTube channel, but I do not know that for certain. But it was recorded, so I think they are going to release it. And once I know where it's going to be released, obviously, I'll post about it on my social media channels and all that. So.
And for those of you watching this program, you can listen to Crystal and me, along with Suzanne, Tom, and Z, in the latest Dice Tower podcast, which is episode, 648. We do a top 5 list of small annoyances and small joys in the world of gaming, which was a very entertaining discussion, and we got in some nice jabs at Tom in the process, and everybody, really. It was really just a good free-for-all.
There was one sick burn that Suzanne got on Tom that was just the best.
It is worth the listen. I do believe there will be a video of that, but it's not yet available. The audio that they got on the camera is not terribly good, so they're actually using the stuff I got for the podcast in order to make the video work. So that's taking some post-production work. It should be out soon. And you can see Crystal and my bunny hats.
The bunny hats are definitely the best reason to watch the video version, because you and I had some fun little reactions to some of the things.
Yes, indeed. So while we're finishing up on anything else we want to talk about on Dice Tower West, if you have a question, chat, that you'd like Crystal or me to answer, we'll have a few more minutes before we end the show for tonight. Please get those questions in. The chat has been discussing why it's called Dice Tower West when it's not on the West Coast, because Las Vegas isn't quite the coast. And then they started talking about Superman the movie references, where like Lex Luthor tried to destroy the coast so that Vegas was the coast. You know, it's chat. But anyway, if you have questions, please get those in the chat. Crystal, anything else you want to talk about as far as Dice Tower West goes?
I mean, I just want to specifically say thank you to anyone who happens to be in the chat or watching this video later. If you attended the con, you helped contribute to how wonderful it was. And so I just want to say thanks, because it really was great. There were a couple of games that I played that I wanted to give specific shout outs to just because of how much I loved them. And not even necessarily new games. I got to try Mega City Oceania for the first time. And it's dexterity, but there's more to it. And I thought I would like it, and I loved it, like really loved it. Like I might just buy a copy real soon, but I'm trying to cull my collection right now. The other one that I also thought I would like and I loved was Time Chase, the trick-taking game where you can go back to past tricks. And that one, it was so fun. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. It's a unique trick-taking game and a nice mind bender, which is a lot of fun.
Were there any other games that were standouts for you?
Let's see. I talked about Jumpdrive. The Isle of Cats I really enjoyed.
I played that one as well.
I'm not sure if it's a purchase. I'm sort of wavering on that one, but it was a lot of fun. That was maybe my second favorite game of the con. It's just a nice. I like the goals that you get. The card drafting is cool, and then the polyominoes that you're placing on your ship, and the lounging cats and the illustrations. It all comes together really, really well, and so I'm sort of middling on it as far as whether I need to add it to the collection, because there's a lot in the collection. Oh, I also got to play one of the adventure games, one of Cosmos's adventure games. We did one of the 3 missions in the dungeon, and that one I like a lot. It feels very point-and-click adventure, like Myst. It's the sort of stuff I really enjoyed in Time Stories, but the system is a little less. It's not about time loops. In fact, there's no timer at all. You just take turns and do stuff. On my turn, I can go anywhere as long as we've explored it, and I either put 2 items together or interact with a location or use an item on a location. That's it. And so there's no ticking clock. You can leisurely play. I really enjoyed it, and I want to play the rest of it with my kids. So that was another good one.
I can't remember which one I have. I have one of them, and I still haven't played it, and I'm excited to try it at some point.
Let's see. I'm looking at questions now. Oh, and by the way, if you are interested in Dice Tower West, I think registration very soon.
I wish I had an answer for right now, but I do not.
Okay.
So we allowed attendees to register early for next year, but I do not believe we have opened registration proper at this point.
Okay.
When we do, we will definitely post about it on the Dice Tower West social media pages. So make sure you're following Dice Tower West on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to get that information when it is available.
So someone, Nick, has delved into the podcast archive and went back to Dice Tower Podcast 86, which had my first top 10 list ever. This is before I was a co-host on the show. It was when I was just the neighborhood voice guy. And I think Tom and Sam didn't want to do a top 10 list that time. So they're like, let's just let Eric do his top 10. And Nick is complaining that Merchant of Venus wasn't on there. I hadn't played it yet. That was pre-Merchant of Venus when we did episode 86. It's on there now.
It was funny. Nick actually found me at the con and mentioned this to me. And that was without knowing for sure, that was my explanation for it. Is I was like, I bet he had played Merchant of Venus at that point. So I'm glad to hear that I was correct.
Nick is like, I want answers.
It's very important. What's funny is I'm supposed to do my top 100 at some point. I haven't had the time to put it together. I may end up doing it live because that'll be easier than recording and editing things. I don't know if people would watch it live, but at least it would exist then. And I think it'll be very different. The last time I did my top 100 was in 2018. I believe, and I didn't put it out on the Dice Tower. It was only out on the Board Game Blitz YouTube channel. But I think my top 100 would be very different now than it was 2 years ago. So once I do finally put that together, I'll be excited to see how things shake out.
Yeah, I get to do mine. I'm going to do it over the summer, and it's been 3 years since I last tabulated things, and there should be some movement for sure.
If you didn't do all your cute stuff with the kiddos, I would say you and I should team up and do it together. But I know that you have your very fun system with them, so yes. I don't want to step on that.
We definitely we need to start brainstorming things because the kids, they're still cute, but they're not quite as cute as they used to be. They're bigger now, and so we gotta brainstorm some stuff. We'll figure it out.
Oh well, someone in the chat said that they would watch my top 100 live, so. That's fun. I definitely would try and keep the descriptions of games fairly succinct. It would not be one of those top 100s where you're explaining a lot about each game. It would be very high-level overview of the mechanisms or how the game looks or feels, and then just why I like it. I would try and keep things fairly short in that regard.
So Gator Dave asks, best non-gaming event or moment of Dice Tower West? A show, food, feeding a gambling addiction?
Well, I live here in Vegas and I don't gamble. I mean, the live show was probably one of the highlights for sure. So if people, they should definitely either go listen to the audio version on the podcast or when the video comes out, check that out. Because it really was a very fun list and fun show in general. But truly, I liked taking you to one of my favorite restaurants here in Las Vegas.
Yes, and this was the Cornish Pasty Place, which you mentioned on the episode 2 weeks ago, right before the show. And even more fun than eating there was then telling Suzanne that we went to the pie restaurant without her. The look on her face.
Oh, she was mad.
She was livid. They went again. Crystal took Suzanne.
2 days after I went to one of my favorite restaurants, I went back again because it was honestly really close to the convention center. It was still not walking distance. It was a drive, but it was only like 2 miles away. So I took Suzanne and I took the Murph brothers and some other friends as well. So it was great. I got to eat there twice in a week, which is wonderful for me.
So yeah, that was one of my highlights, and of course the look on Sousa's face when we told her. I did do a little bit of gambling. I occasionally dabble, and I came out on top, so I'm happy. And
what's your game of choice?
I know it's terrible, but I do the slot machines.
No, the slots are fun.
I enjoy. I totally approach it with this money is gone if I don't win. And I'll usually pick an IP-based game that looks entertaining. I played the Mad Max machine, or what else did I do? Oh, there was a Monty Python machine. I just, it's a calculated risk, and it doesn't always pay out. But if it does, yay! And I like the little bonus games on the video slot machine. So I did okay, and I can go out to dinner this week.
I am never going to begrudge someone who partakes in something in a harmless way as a form of entertainment.
Yes.
Obviously, gambling can be problematic, but if you treat it as a form of entertainment and spend your money as if you were going to lose it, it can be done responsibly and enjoyably. And I haven't gambled in a while, but I actually found out that one of the people who was one of the Dice Tower's Kickstarter supporters mooks for the company that makes some of the popular slot games, including one of my favorites of all time. So there's a game called Invaders from the Planet Moolah that has a bunch of cows in it. And she was like,
"Oh yeah, that one.
All those unique moo sounds, like we've programmed those very specifically." And I was just like, holy moly. Yeah, I love that game. If I'm going to play a slot, that's the type of slot I sit down at, is where a whole bunch of cows are mooing at me.
And yes, there is indeed a Mad Max slot machine. It's very loud. Kabuki is asking in the chat. It like, is
that one of those ones with the special chairs with the speakers in it or whatever?
It shook. Like when a particular slot connected, it sort of jolts you, and it was weird, and very intense. Anyway.
They are, I think, I only work in Vegas, but I don't work in the casino industry anymore. But from what I know, casino and game makers are recognizing that if they want to draw in a younger crowd, that the games need to be more compelling and more interesting than they used to be.
They're basically like high-quality gaming chairs that you'd see, like a Twitch stream or something.
Right.
Yeah. So that seems to be our chat questions for today. I'm not seeing anything else jumping out at me. Yeah, they're moving on to more movie quotes and whether they would go play slot machines, and asking what makes water smart. Because I think Crystal's drinking some smart water.
Yeah, nothing is the answer. And I have some of these bottles around, and I refill them from the filter in my fridge because this is easier sometimes than having a cup that I could knock over, which I'm a klutz, so that tends to happen. And when I have lots of computer equipment, the ability to close a thing is valuable.
Yes. All right. Oh, they're saying the water is got into college, but they only got in because it was a legacy. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole thread. Anyway, I talked to a number of people at the convention that are fans of the show that often don't get to watch it live. Sometimes, you kind of want to join in live because you could be part of this ridiculous discussion over here. You could be part of this.
Let's give them a shout out. Those of you who aren't here right now, because we talk to the chat. Chat, we love you. The people that are here now, we do love you. But we love the people that watch this show after the fact. So whether you're watching it live now or whether you're watching it later tonight, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, I don't care. We love you. And hopefully you love us too. And if you want to click that little thumbs up button below the video to tell us that you love us, that would be much appreciated.
Quick question before we go, because I did see it go by earlier. Did you buy any games at the convention, Crystal?
I did not buy any games at the convention. I had a game gifted to me by Board Game Barrage. Which is a podcast. They had some games that they were giving away, some smaller things, and they had a copy of Skull King, which I'm in a trick-taking mood lately, and I've played Skull King once. Raph and Charlie from the Ding and Dent podcast taught it to me last year, and I had been wanting to come back to it, and so when they had a copy just sitting there, I said, if no one else wants it, I'd be happy to take it off your hands, and they very kindly gave it to me, so...
I did not buy something, but I did finally get a copy of One Night Ultimate Supervillains, which I did the voice work on for the app, and so I've been looking forward to playing that with my kids. And I said, I would love to get a copy of this. They're like, yeah, you did the voice on the game. Here you go. So that was nice.
That's a reasonable request to make.
All right. So I think that's a show, Crystal.
That's about it. Thank you all so much for joining us. We will be back in 2 weeks, which the date is lost to me right now because the part of my computer with a calendar on it's covered up.
Should be the 17th, right? Today's the 3rd?
Oh my gosh, that'll be middle of March. Is that St. Patrick's Day?
Today's the 4th. I think I may have put the wrong date on this show.
No, it's the
March
4th. You're good.
So
You're good.
The 18th will be
the 18th of March.
Weeks.
At 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We hope you all can come back and join us then. But until then, I'm Crystal Pisano.
I'm Eric Summerer.
And you've been watching Dice Tower Tonight.
Thanks for watching. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. Crystal and I will see you in 2 weeks for another installment. Our show is supported by viewers like you. Thanks. Dice Tower Tonight is produced by Crystal and me with assistance from Tom Vassell, Mike DeLisio, Roy Kennedy, and Rob Searing. The Jewel Changi Airport Shopping Complex, home of the world's largest indoor waterfall, brought to you by In the Mall of the Fountain King. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at coolstuffinc.com. Give us your feedback on the Dice Tower Guild at Board Game Geek on Facebook or Twitter, or by emailing us at dicetower@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network. Find something new at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all of us at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming. So long, everybody.
That was a good pun. And the live show also had a great one, so everybody should go check that out.
You definitely should.